Ever wonder who makes sure your city has working traffic lights or that new school gets built on time?
Yeah, well, someone's got to do it.
Right. Well, it's a pretty important job, but most of us probably don't think about it much.
Exactly. And that's where today's deep dive takes us into the world of the standalone public buyer.
Standalone public buyer. Okay.
Ah.
That sounds pretty official. What exactly are we talking about here?
It is, and crucial, especially for smaller organizations. You see, in larger entities, you often have entire procurement departments.
Makes sense. You'd need a whole team to handle all that.
Right. But for many organizations, especially smaller ones, it's a one-person show.
Wow. So they really are standalone. I have to admit, I always pictured procurement as a massive team huddled over spreadsheets
It can be, but for many, it's like, imagine juggling everything.
of everything.
Well, everything an organization needs to buy, from office supplies to construction contracts, all while navigating these complex regulations and making sure every dollar is spent wisely. It's a lot of pressure.
Talk about a high-stakes shopping spree. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. What does a typical day even look like for a standalone public buyer? I mean, where do they even start?
Well, okay, imagine this. Your local library needs new computers.
Okay, makes
So the
sense.
standalone public buyer, they'd be the one figuring out all the technical specs, then researching all the different suppliers, requesting quotes.
Oh, so they're doing all the research too.
Oh, yeah, and then they've got to negotiate the best possible price, of course.
It's like being the ultimate deal hunter, but with the added pressure of taxpayer money. I bet those negotiation skills are really put to the test.
Absolutely. And they're not just negotiating prices either. It's often contract terms, delivery schedules, you name it.
Wow, I hadn't even considered all that.
And they have to think about the ethical stuff too, like making sure there's fair labor practices within their supply chain.
So it's not just about getting the best price, it's about being socially responsible too.
Exactly. It's a real balancing act.
It sounds like it takes a certain kind of person to excel in this role. You need to
Yeah.
be super organized, a master communicator, and probably have a bit of a detective's eye for detail.
You're spot on. And that's really just scratching the surface. We haven't even touched on the strategic thinking involved.
Strategic thinking.
Oh, yeah. They need to forecast future needs, manage budgets, stay ahead of potential supply chain disruptions.
Whoa, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. So we've established that it's a demanding job, but what about the rewards? What's the career trajectory look like for a standalone public buyer?
That's one of the things I find so fascinating about this career path. It's a field where you can really climb the ladder.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, you might start as, let's say, a procurement assistant, learning the ropes, assisting with smaller purchases.
Okay, entry-level stuff.
Exactly, but with some experience under your belt and the right certifications, you can move up to a buyer position,
And from there?
then senior buyer, and eventually you could even become the procurement manager for a whole organization.
So you're saying there's a clear path for growth, but it's not just handed to you. You need to put in the work, gain the right skills and qualifications.
Precisely. And that's where something like RoleCatcher can be incredibly helpful. They have this amazing resource, a comprehensive guide that breaks down the standalone public buyer career path step by step.
Now that's what I call a roadmap to success.
It really is. They provide detailed info on typical responsibilities for each level, expected salary ranges, even real-world examples of people's career journeys in the field. It's like having a crystal ball for your procurement career.
Having a crystal ball for your career does sound pretty handy. But let's be real. Even with the best roadmap, actually landing that dream job can be a challenge. What's the competition like in the procurement world these days? Having a crystal ball for your career does sound pretty handy. But let's be real, even with the best roadmap, actually landing that dream job can be a challenge. What's the competition like in the procurement world these days?
It's definitely competitive, no doubt about that.
So how do you stand out from the crowd?
That's where, really showcasing your skills and experience becomes crucial.
And I bet that's where RoleCatcher comes in with even more helpful resources.
Exactly. This is one of the things I love about RoleCatcher, their database of interview questions.
Okay, so you can practice your answers beforehand. That's always a good idea.
It's more than that, though. These aren't just, generic tell me about yourself questions.
Oh, what do you mean?
These are laser-focused, designed specifically for standalone public buyer roles.
That's brilliant. So you can walk into an interview feeling prepared and confident, ready to tackle anything they throw at you. No more interview jitters. I remember one time I had an interview
It's about demonstrating that deep understanding of the role, the challenges you'll face, all of that.
I see. So it's not just about calming your nerves, it's about really knowing your stuff.
Exactly. And role catchers interview prep tools, they can help you formulate those really insightful answers that showcase your expertise.
Speaking of expertise, are there any specific certifications that are considered essential in the procurement world, something that makes a hiring manager sit up and take notice?
Absolutely. There are a couple of big ones that carry a lot of weight.
Okay, like what?
Well, the CPPB, or Certified Professional Public Buyer, is huge in the public sector.
What does that one tell you?
It shows, a real commitment to ethical procurement practices and a deep understanding of the legal framework.
So it's like having a stamp of approval from the procurement gods. What about the private sector? Is there an equivalent certification that holds the same weight?
Yeah, so the private sector, you're looking at the CPM, Certified Purchasing Manager. That's the gold standard.
And how is that one different?
Well, it covers a broader range of procurement topics like supplier relationship management, strategic sourcing, that kind of thing.
So no matter which path you choose, public or private, having those certifications on your resume can really give you a competitive edge. I can definitely see how that investment pays off in the long run. But beyond the certifications, what about the soft skills? What personal qualities make a standalone public buyer truly exceptional?
Ooh, that's such a great question.
Because I imagine it takes more than just technical know-how to really excel in this role.
You're right. While technical expertise is essential, those soft skills are what truly set someone apart. And for a standalone public buyer, I'd say adaptability is key.
Adaptability, how so?
Well, they need to be comfortable switching gears constantly. One minute they're negotiating with suppliers, the next they're analyzing budget reports, the next they're putting out fires in the supply chain.
It's like being a procurement chameleon, blending into every situation.
That's a great way to put it.
So you need to be adaptable,
hmm
but what else? What about problem-solving skills? I imagine those are pretty important too.
Absolutely essential. Remember, this role is often about finding creative solutions within some pretty tight constraints.
Right, you've got limited budgets, strict deadlines, a whole lot of people to keep happy.
Exactly. It takes a cool head and a real knack for thinking outside the box to navigate all these challenges.
And I imagine communication plays a big role too. You're dealing with so many different people, from suppliers to department heads to maybe even the occasional frustrated customer.
Communication is key. And it's not just about being clear and concise, though that's important too. It's about being persuasive, diplomatic, even a little bit charming at times.
So you need to be a bit of a people person too.
You could say that.
Yeah.
Remember, building strong relationships, both internally and externally, that's huge in this job.
Okay, so we've covered adaptability, problem solving, communication. What about attention to detail? I have a feeling that's pretty crucial in this line of work.
Oh, absolutely critical. Standalone public buyers, they're dealing with contracts, regulations, financial data. One misplaced decimal point, one missed clause in a contract, and it could have major consequences.
So it's not a job for the faint of heart. You need to be organized, detail-oriented, and probably have a bit of a detective's instinct for sniffing out potential problems before they arise. But let's get back to RoleCatcher for a moment. We've talked about their interview prep tools and career guides, but how else can they help someone who's serious about pursuing a career as a standalone public buyer?
This is where RoleCatcher's platform really shines. They don't just provide information, they actually help you connect with potential employers.
Okay, that sounds promising. Tell me more about how that works.
So think of it as a matchmaking service for procurement professionals.
I love that. So instead of endlessly scrolling through generic job boards, you're presented with opportunities that align with your specific skills and career goals.
Exactly. It all starts with creating a profile on RoleCatcher. You input your experience, skills, certifications, and career aspirations.
So they get a good sense of who you are and what you're looking for.
Right, and then their AI-powered system gets to work, matching you with relevant job openings from a curated network of employers.
It's like having a personal headhunter in your back pocket. No more sending out countless resumes into the void, hoping for the best. RoleCatcher does the heavy lifting for you. That sounds incredibly efficient. But what about the application process itself? Is that still a tedious nightmare?
Actually, they've streamlined that too. With RoleCatcher, you can often apply for jobs with just a single click. using the profile you've already created.
Wow, now that's what I call convenient.
And their AI even helps you tailor your CV and cover letter to each specific job description.
Oh, so it's not just a generic application, it's customized to increase your chances of getting noticed.
Exactly.
Okay, now that is what I call working smarter, not harder. I can see why you're so impressed with RoleCatcher. They've really thought of everything to help aspiring standalone public buyers succeed. It sounds like RoleCatcher has really cracked the code when it comes to connecting the right people with the right opportunities.
They really have.
I have a feeling a lot of our listeners are already updating their resumes as we speak. But even with the best tools and resources, taking that first step into a new career, it can be daunting.
Oh, absolutely. Change can be scary.
It's true. Any advice for those who are feeling a bit hesitant to take the plunge into the world of procurement?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say don't be afraid to reach out to people already working in the field.
That's always good advice. Talk to the experts.
Right, networking is so valuable, even if it's just for an informational interview, just to pick someone's brain. Most people are happy to share their experiences and offer advice.
It's all about building those connections and learning from those who've been there, done that. And I bet RoleCatcher could be helpful on that front as well.
You know it. They have a fantastic community forum where aspiring and experienced procurement professionals can connect, share insights. You could even find a mentor there.
I love that sense of community. It's like having a built-in support system. This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of the standalone public buyer. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are ready to make their mark on the world, one well-negotiated contract at a time?
Well, if you're looking for a career that's challenging and rewarding, where you can really make a difference in your community, I think this could be the perfect fit.
It really does sound like it takes a special kind of person, but the impact is undeniable.
Absolutely. Standalone public buyers are the unsung heroes. They keep our cities running, our schools equipped, our public services operating smoothly.
So true. The ones behind the scenes, making sure those wheels keep turning, we owe them a huge thank you.
Absolutely. And if you're ready to join their ranks, remember that RoleCatcher has your back every step of the way.
They really do seem like a fantastic resource.
From exploring different career paths to acing those interviews to landing that dream job, they've got the tools and resources and support you need.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been such an eye-opening deep dive into a career path I think many of us take for granted. Now, for our listeners, here's something to ponder. We've talked about the skills, the certifications, the resources, but what about those intangible qualities?
The things you can't really teach.
Exactly. What kind of person thrives in this role? What makes a standalone public buyer truly exceptional? Something to think about. Till next time, happy procuring.